everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our look at the great anthology from the late 80s, early 90s, A1, and we're up to number 3. This came out in 1990, and we start off with a freaking beautiful Brian Bolland cover. This stuff is, like, Brian Bolland is just an amazing artist. But, you know, to be honest, I'm getting a little tired of him drawing, like, I don't know, 2 DC covers a month. They're all beautiful. But when Brian Bolland would draw his own stuff, we showed off one of his album covers back on that Sleeves to Astonish episode. Whenever he does, like, I don't know, stuff for himself. And, for example, this is the actress and the bishop, his characters. It's so much better because it seems like there's just more imagination. He's just impeccable, an impeccable craftsman. We all know that. But, you know, after seeing 78 Wonder Woman poses, you know, I don't know. It's not that exciting. But look at this cover. This is just fucking amazing. So we're back to the thinner size again. This is 80 pages. And we have another credits page. And once again, funny indicia. And the contents. So we start off with a story about The American. This was a Dark Horse published comic, kind of a dark take on superheroes. You know, this came out after Watchmen, after Alan Moore did all of his deconstructive work on superheroes. So this was another one that was like, you know, trying to jump on that gravy train. It was created by Mark Verheiden, who was a film scriptwriter, but he did a bunch of stuff for Dark Horse. I think he did some of the Aliens and or Predator adaptations, but this was his own character. There was a bunch of miniseries, a bunch of specials, and I guess he was hot shit enough that A1 was like, hey, we want an American story. So this is written by Verheiden, pencils by Dougie Braithwaite, and I forgot who does the inks on this. Oh, Chris Warner. You know, long-time Dark Horse stalwart. And we see this guy is a Vietnam vet, and it looks like he's pretty damaged. And apparently, the American secret has just come out. To try to keep it short, the American's a superhero that's been around, I think, since World War II. But the secret is that there's just been many Americans. They, you know, he's a superhero. It's in the real world, superheroes would die. They'd have a very short shelf life because they're going up against all these dangerous things. So he keeps being replaced. Nobody knows this. Everyone just thinks it's the good old American. But basically he's like a CIA operative. And so this vet has a flashback to Vietnam. And he remembers the time that the American came to visit. Him and his troops were in the middle of the jungle, and the American shows up like a fucking celebrity. He's got cameras on him. And, you know, these poor grunts have been in the jungle, just, you know, they're smelly, they're hungry. And the American shows up like a big man on campus. He wants a photo op. So they go to this village, and the American has no idea. Just like a lot of Americans did, like, oh, the Vietnamese are going to welcome us with open arms. It's like, no, most Vietnamese were like, you're the enemy. You keep killing us. So it's a very cold reception. The cameraman decides to go into this, one of the houses. And as soon as he opens the door, someone inside blows his head off. So, of course, it turns to a huge firefight. American runs right into the action. Even though he's a CIA tool, he's pretty brave. He's pretty gung-ho. And so the whole family's killed. Apparently, it was just a father, and he was defending his family. He thought, shit, this guy's barging in my door. There's all these soldiers outside. And our narrator, he's basically like, tries to explain it to him. He says that he was just defending his family. And the American says, burn it all to the ground. And he's trying to argue with him. He's like, some of these people had nothing to do with this. You're going to burn the whole village? And he does. And they basically erase this village off the map and kill everyone there. And the ending's kind of inconclusive, kind of odd, actually. After seeing the American finally fess up. He doesn't fess up about the Vietnam incident, though. He shoots his TV, and then he throws his gun into, I imagine, a river. We see him on a bridge here, or a lake. And, I'm sorry, a river, obviously. So I don't really get the ending. So now we have another excellent Eddie Campbell Bacchus story. The Bookkeeper from Atlantis. This is just all of these dead face stories are so fucking entertaining. And so it's basically dead face talking about Atlantis. And they're in this small Greek island, in the Greek islands, trying to maybe find where Atlantis was. And, his buddy's there, Simpson. And so he's basically telling Simpson the whole story about Atlantis. And believe me, it's freaking entertaining as hell. As Eddie Campbell is such a good yarn spinner. I just love the way he draws Bacchus's face. Or dead face, as he was known back then. So Bacchus apparently knows these two survivors of Atlantis. The bookkeeper from Atlantis, he worked for the government. And he's a total collector of any artifact or paperwork he can find from Atlantis. And he has this amazing collection that's totally brilliantly organized. And we also meet basically a bookkeeper from Atlantis. He was the king of the gambling dens. And, God, I love that picture of dead face right there. They all look good. The way he draws the lines in his face, it's like a road map. So, the bookkeeper of Atlantis, the skinny guy, he's showing off his amazingly organized collection and how proud he is of it. And then Deadface starts a fire with his cigarette and burns the whole thing to the ground. All of his amazing collections. And the bookkeeper doesn't know what to do. Like, he's just so... That was his whole life. So he jumps off the cliff and kills himself. Really amazing story. I wish I could read the whole thing to you. Just so... Eddie Campbell's just so wry and clever. Like, all the dialogue's funny and just really good. They end up on this little island, and these people on a survivor trip, they're like, what are you guys doing here? So, of course, is another example or opportunity for Bacchus to start spinning yarns to these young folk. Next, we have The Actress and the Bishop Throw a Party by Mr. Brian Bolland. Once again, all the captions are in verse. And, God, just look at this fucking beautiful art. I can't even remember the last time Brian Bolland did interior art. So they throw this big soiree so their neighbors can meet him. And it looks amazing. And all of a sudden, this middle-aged lady's there, and the bishop is like, holy shit, it's Ethel White. You left me brokenhearted back in 1942. And then we have a flashback. Oh, God, every panel of this is just so flawlessly beautiful. And he basically meets Ethel. She takes his virginity. They date. And then it turns out she gets pregnant by another man. And she says, the father of my baby is your neighbor, Henry Pugh. And so the young bishop was so angry, he throws a chair out the window. And now here she is, a little worse for the wear. Life has been not too kind to her. And she says, I never married Henry Pugh. I married Cyril Sly. But she doesn't mention why. Meanwhile, out in the garden, it appears that the actress is having a very similar confrontation. She's talking, some ex-lover of hers has shown up. And, they're having this kind of nostalgic, melancholy reunion. And everyone leaves, and it seems like it was a pretty good party. Everyone had a good time. And then we find out on a hillside up in Bradford stands the grave of Henry Pugh. He was struck down by a flying chair in 1942. Oh, that's rich. I love that. Apparently there's a collected book, The Complete Actress and Bishop. I have a feeling I have most of them from various anthologies, but I probably don't have them all. So I really want that book. Oh, this is pretty neat. My Closest Friend by John Colleen. Not sure who that is, but illustrated by Dave McKean. So, and this is very poetic. It's about a guy named Ambrose who's in a mental institution. He's in a straitjacket in this padded room. And like I said, it's poetry, so it's a little vague. And there's not really much story in here. Kind of like just a poetic character piece. But we get to see Dave McKean just trying everything. All these different styles. He's a pretty good writer, this guy. Photography, of course. And just, little snippets of his life living in this mental institution. This poor crazy guy. I love this last page. It was just cutlery. It looks so good to me. So next we have Leone Rider by Gary and Warren Pleece. And this is the Pleece brothers just being real silly. This is a total parody of Sergio Leone westerns, spaghetti westerns, and it's pretty funny. It's they are speaking this weird like bad Italian translation English, as if it was a badly translated movie. And the man with no name character is obviously supposed to. It almost looks like Clint Eastwood in some of the panels. And he's definitely not as cool as the man with no name. So just a really pretty funny parody of that kind of movie. It's got a hint of like being like an existential Western, but mainly it's just it's all about the humor. Zorro shows up, gives him some advice. And basically he needs him to help him out. He tells him about this gold mine in town. God, I can't even get into this. It's so complex, this funny story. It's like... But, man, I love Warren Pleece's art. He had a story, last issue or the issue before, and I love that. But this one's even better. Apparently everyone in this town loves to eat horses because they're all hungry. There's not enough food in this village. And basically the Leone rider is just trying to get his horse back. It seems like the horse has been shanghaied into working at this gold mine. And this old man basically says, hey man, I need your help. We can get free your horse and I can get all the gold. So many great shots in here. And there's the end. Really good story. We have another chapter of Bricktop, Walton Pig Girls. And we see our protagonists, a bunch of ne'er-do-well friends. They just got some pizza. They're in a parking garage. And all of a sudden, the Walton Pig Girls show up. They're this, like, scooter gang who wear these, like, pig-like helmets. And they're basically just, you know, they're bad guys. They're bullies. They give them a warning and ride off. So our protagonists decide to get in these shopping carts, have a good time. Have a trolley race. And then the pig girls return. And they start kicking over their shopping carts. And so one of them throws a pizza right at the face of one of these girls. Lucy gives her one of the finger. And this is weird. Some of them actually turn into pigs. Like right here, this is obviously not a costume. She's turned into a little pig. The janitor there, I guess he's tired of their shenanigans. I guess they always dick around in this parking garage, and this poor janitor is like, car park clean. Stop horsing around. Meanwhile, we see Zinmoth of Thrad and Fred the Tramp. We met them last issue. Zinmoth is an alien with like amazing powers. And she gives the janitor power. Just as, I guess, as a game, you know. She's just like, oh, let's see what happens. And all of a sudden his Zamboni type thing just turns into this amazing vehicle, space age vehicle, and goes tearing through both the pig girls and our protagonists. And then at the end, we see them running away. So I guess the pig girls got the worst of it. Once again, some really amazingly detailed Glenn Fabry art. I forgot to mention, this is by Glenn Fabry. So now we have a story by Philip Bond. And this is a really sad story. Just about young love. This guy has been hanging out with this girl for, I think, since they were kids. And basically they both kind of loved each other, but they just never seemed to, neither of them could pull the trigger. And now she's moving away forever. And so they have one last night. And I guess they've never even kissed. I mean, it's definitely something we can relate to. You're friends with someone, you don't want to ruin it, but you realize it's like, damn it, they're the best person I know. I would like to date them. But it's just scary, or it just seems the moment never comes. And I just have this kind of melancholy night walking around the pier. Really like this story. Really love his art too. Philip Bond is just a nice, clean style. They sneak out to the end of the pier. You actually have to like sneak around this wall. And nothing is said. He's hoping that, like, you know, she'll say something like, I'll miss you. I wish you'd made the first move. I've always loved you. You know, that kind of stuff. She doesn't. And in fact, she falls asleep. Maybe because of the wine that they're drinking, or because she's exhausted from packing. And he's still awake, and he sits at the handrail. And thinking about all the times he stared at her window at midnight under the orange street lamps, wishing he was curled up with her in her bedroom. When he wakes up, she's gone. And he can still kind of smell her in the crisp morning air, and he sees her lipstick on the mouth of the wine bottle, and she scratched a little note onto the frost of the window. I'll miss you. Oh man, that's really sad. But then again, they're both young, good-looking people, so I'm sure it'll get better. So here we have The House of Heart's Desire, and this is written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Dom Regan, who we've seen in every issue of A1. And this is very like early Grant Morrison, very kind of fancy writing, kind of showing off how smart he is. And this main character is searching for this. It's almost like a poem, a prose poem, because it's just like doesn't really make sense. He finds a door without a house, so now he's looking for a house without a door. Supposedly it's the House of Heart's Desire, and all your wishes will come true. So this guy's walking around with this door, and basically leaves his house, settles all his affairs, cancels the paper delivery. He's on a journey, and he goes into the woods. He goes to this horrible woods with all these horrible insects biting him, and then things get weird. And I guess this could just be the story of someone who's having a psychotic meltdown, a schizophrenic episode. Because look at this. I love the way Dom Regan draws this insane landscape. He goes to the City of Whispers, and it's just populated by these crazy, bizarro creatures. Some of them are wraith-like, and some of them are just monsters. Apparently everyone there is laughing at him, pointing at him, but nobody accosts him or anything. And it seems like he's traveling through the city forever. He can't make it through the city, it seems. It takes forever. Finally, he breaks free. And he finds this giant labyrinth. He realizes the labyrinth isn't so hard to navigate once he realized that it was based on the whorls of his own thumbprint. So he had a map on his own thumb. And when he comes out, it almost looks like he's in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, but still with crazy fantasy elements. And then he finds the house, and there's a guy already there. And this guy's like, yeah, this place is great. Look, I found the Fountain of Youth. And our narrator says, this house is mine. And the other guy just says, yeah, finders keepers. So the narrator kills this guy. He holds him under the Fountain of Youth and drowns him. And while he's drowning him, he's becoming younger and younger. Pretty soon he's strangling this little infant until he's bloody and newborn. And then it looks like he just turns into a sperm. And so he sets the door up. He's like, at last, it's mine. But then he realizes there's one thing in the world he still needs and desires: the key. So even though he put the door in, it's locked. So kind of like a, I don't know, metaphysical type story. Really interesting, though. And it's very well written by Grant Morrison, as he is wont to do. Next is Point of View, another story written by Graham Marks for John Bolton to draw. And this one, we see a guy who's just murdered a woman. He drags her. Guys, I hope you can see this okay. This John Bolton art is just, that guy's always pretty stunning. But this one is just beyond. The amazing tones he gets in here. If you look closely, I don't know if you can see, there's lines everywhere. So I don't know if he did this on this textured paper or something. But whatever he did, This is some of the most refined looking, just really amazing John Bolton artwork I've ever seen. And then we cut away to these two kind of art critic type guys at a museum, and they're discussing a painting. We keep cutting back to this guy. He's laying out the dead body of the woman he just murdered. The art critics are going on and on with their kind of, highfalutin descriptions of the painting. And then this guy seems to go to work on the corpse. He's doing like sewing and cutting her up and doing all this weird shit. And then we see what the art critics were looking at. It's one of the early abstract Picasso paintings. And he says, one of them says, he slashes away the cords that bind together the world as we recognize it. And the other guy says, harsh judgment. Very harsh. But as you intimate, there's more than a little of the butcher in Mr. Picasso. And then we see the victim. And he basically, with his knife and needle and thread, made her like an abstract drawing, the way Picasso draws people in almost like 4 dimensions. And so supposedly this is the origin of Pablo Picasso, or the hidden secret of Pablo Picasso. Next we have another Bo Jeffries saga tale. And we see the vampire guy, can't think of his name right now. And these kids come to the door singing Christmas carols. And then I think because they're singing Christian stuff, he collapses. I was a little confused why he collapses. And one of these little kids kicks him in the face. And they take his wallet and run off. Once again, written by Alan Moore, drawn by Steve Parkhouse. God, Steve Parkhouse has such a great comic style. I mean comic in the sense of comedian comedy. So now we see the patriarch of the family. He's the father of that vampire guy and all these other people. So once again, just lots of jokes. Almost every panel's got a gag. And actually, let me get this guy's name. One of his sons is basically like a werewolf. This guy right here. So Santa, I forgot to mention it's Christmas Eve. I know I talked about the Christmas carols, but it's actually Christmas Eve. So Santa lands on the roof with the reindeer. And this werewolf son, he's all like, yum. His dad's getting ready for bed. And he realizes that Santa's on the roof. And he says, Raoul, you come back here this instant. Sorry, that's the werewolf's name, Raoul. And so the next morning, everyone's got really nice presents. I love this, how this one son, this nerdy kid, well, he's a guy, he has an Airfix model of the Atlantic Ocean. Should I paint all the oxygen molecules before I glue them to the hydrogen molecules? And we see Raoul eating a reindeer leg, hiding behind the sofa. Ginda, the daughter, gets a Fabergé egg. And then they say, we better traipse down to the cellar to give baby a present. So they have to put on radiation suits. They grab this a canister of obviously radiated stuff, and they give it to baby. And basically baby is a Cthulhian type creature, one of the elder gods. And he's all like, what the hell is this? I want blood sacrifice for Christmas. He starts like shooting lasers at him, so they have to run away. And so they have a nice Christmas dinner, and they all fall asleep. And then after tea time, I guess that the son did his airfix kit of the Atlantic Ocean, and the whole house is flooded. And that's the Bo Jeffries family's nice Christmas. I do have to say, I love Alan Moore so much. He's so fucking clever, coming up with cool ideas, but his humor stuff, it never makes me laugh. It's cute, it's interesting, you know, there definitely some interesting ideas in here. But these are obviously trying to just be like laugh out loud funny, you know, like guffaw, full of guffaws, but it's always just like so calculated. It's never like, you know, give me Johnny Ryan any day, some moron like that. Or Sam Henderson. Those guys make me laugh. Alan Moore never really makes me laugh. But I love reading these Bo Jeffries because they're just really well written and interesting stuff. Coming attraction for number 4. And look at this. We have a back cover by Moebius. Well, he does the art. And this little script here is by Jean-Luc Caudray. Monsieur Mouche, lighter than air. Everything that flies is lighter than air, remarked Monsieur Mouche. I hate to contradict you, said a scientist, but that is not true. Birds are heavier than air. How do you know? I weighed one. But was it flying when you weighed it? Kind of silly. But man, even getting just a little drawing by Moebius is great. He's going to be in the next one, so we're going to get more substantial contributions from Moebius. So there you go, guys. Another great fucking issue of A1 number 3. I mean, I'm sorry, I meant to say of A1. These were just so good. They really just went after some of the best names. And, I mean, it's already been an impressive lineup, but now they're having Moebius draw stuff for them. And, okay, spoiler alert. Chad Rossi's going to be in the next issue, too. So even, like, getting foreign artists to draw, I just wish this kept going and going. And I'd just be so curious to see what names they would have gotten, you know, like B. Claban. I don't even know if he was alive then, but just they really cast their net wider and wider, and it was really fun buying these when they came out to just be like so surprised every issue, like holy shit, they got this guy too. It's just doing really high quality work. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching today's video, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.